Chronic stress is often seen as an emotional burden, but at its core, it's a deeply metabolic challenge, one that reshapes how the brain handles energy, particularly glucose. Every moment of prolonged anxiety or unresolved psychological tension nudges the body's hormonal systems into a state of hypervigilance, with cortisol as its biochemical signature. This stress hormone, released by the adrenal glands, is designed for short bursts of survival action, increasing blood glucose, suppressing non-essential functions, and sharpening awareness. Yet when stress becomes constant, this once helpful adaptation begins to unravel the delicate energy balance within the brain itself. At the center of this unraveling is the interaction between cortisol and glucose metabolism. Chronic elevations in cortisol prompt sustained increases in blood sugar, partly by promoting gluconeogenesis in the liver. More subtly, cortisol also affects how cells, especially those in the brain, take up and use glucose. Over time, the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, two regions essential for memory, emotion regulation, and executive function, may become less sensitive to insulin and less efficient at metabolizing glucose. In response, astrocytes, supportive glial cells, may begin to store more glucose in the form of glycogen, leading to an accumulation that might seem protective at first, but soon becomes a problem. Astrocytic glycogen is designed to act as a short-term energy buffer during moments of high demand or metabolic disruption. However, when stress becomes chronic and energy demands are erratic yet persistent, glycogen turnover may become impaired. Instead of fueling neurons during acute stress or mental exertion, glycogen may begin to accumulate in dysfunctional forms. This not only interferes with the brain's ability to manage sudden energy demands, but also may introduce toxic byproducts. Abnormally branched glycogen, for instance, has been implicated in several neurodegenerative conditions, where it can act like a metabolic scar, persistent, poorly utilized, and inflammatory. Cortisol's long-term impact on synaptic plasticity and neurotransmitter systems adds another layer of vulnerability. The stress-related reduction in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, essential for neuron growth and survival, further limits the brain's ability to adapt to metabolic stress. When neurons struggle to receive both energy and trophic support, they begin to weaken, particularly in areas responsible for cognitive flexibility, short-term memory, and emotional regulation. This is how stress doesn't just feel cognitively impairing, it becomes biologically impairing. Mounting evidence suggests that metabolic dysfunction, particularly involving brain glucose and glycogen dynamics, may be a key pathway connecting chronic stress to long-term neurological disorders. Epidemiological studies consistently show that people with anxiety disorders have a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. While inflammation and vascular damage are well-recognized links, an underappreciated one may be this silent metabolic shift, where chronic cortisol exposure subtly sabotages glucose handling, astrocyte support, and eventually neuron viability. Interestingly, excess glycogen in the wrong place at the wrong time may act not just as a metabolic liability, but also as a signaling disruptor. During sleep, a time when the brain's glymphatic system clears metabolic waste, excess glycogen or improper turnover may impair the removal of neurotoxins like beta-amyloid and tau. Since poor sleep quality is often a hallmark of chronic stress and anxiety, this adds a vicious feedback loop. Stress leads to energy mismanagement, which disrupts sleep, which further impairs detoxification, accelerating cognitive aging. There is, however, a hopeful angle to this. Interventions that reduce chronic stress, such as mindfulness, structured physical activity, improved sleep hygiene, and cognitive behavioral therapy, not only reduce cortisol levels, but also improve insulin sensitivity and normalize glucose metabolism. These strategies might, indirectly, restore a healthier balance of glycogen storage and utilization in the brain. Exercise in particular boosts BDNF and promotes glycogen cycling in a beneficial way, helping astrocytes maintain their ability to respond to neuronal energy demands during stress. Likewise, intermittent fasting and ketogenic metabolic states have been shown to reduce the brain's reliance on glucose and encourage alternative fuel usage, possibly protecting against the energy deficits associated with chronic anxiety. Pharmacological exploration is also beginning to target this domain. Researchers are investigating whether modulation of glycogen phosphorylase, the enzyme responsible for breaking down glycogen, could offer therapeutic benefits in stress-related cognitive decline. Though still early, such strategies hint at a new frontier, treating anxiety not only by calming the mind but by stabilizing the brain's energy environment. In conclusion, the metabolic cost of chronic anxiety is not merely theoretical, it's real, biochemical, and increasingly measurable. The brain under long-term stress doesn't just think differently, it fuels itself differently. And if glycogen storage and utilization become disrupted in the process, it could form a bridge between daily psychological stress and the distant but growing risk of neurodegeneration. Recognizing this link shifts our understanding of anxiety from an abstract mental health concern to a pressing metabolic disorder of the brain, one that, if left unaddressed, may exact a far greater toll than worry itself ever could.